Magic Makers, Mombierella here. I had an amazing time at Kimo Kawaii Anime Convention last weekend, and if you didn't get to go this year, definitely check it out next year. It was in Conroe, Texas, and it was awesome. We had a panel with Chris Rager and Josh Martin from DragonballZ, the voice of Mr. Satan and Majin Buu, and I got as much as I could. I had a few camera problems, but I wanted to share it with you guys, so I hope you enjoy.
Good morning.
I'm Mombierella. I'm going to be doing the panel with you guys later today.
Awesome. Nice to meet you. I'm Josh. Absolutely.
Wait, did you do Barney too? Okay, I did not catch that one when I was going through here.
I wore the costume. That was my first job out of acting school.
Oh my gosh, really?
Yes, my first audition.
Oh, then I've seen you a lot. Okay.
Yes, you've probably seen me more than you would care to admit, honestly, and that's okay. Because when I got the job, yeah, I was young and homeless and poor.
Oh, wow.
And,
so you became a dinosaur, so that's cool.
Hey, you know what? I didn't want to do it either.
Oh man, that was huge then.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I was 21 when I booked it, and I was way uninvolved with anything that had to do with Barney, right? I had no involvement with it at all. No siblings or family or friends or anything like that. So they told me about it, and I was like, I don't want to do that. But as history goes, it worked out.
That's awesome.
Yeah, sake Elise. What are we going to do?
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. I'm having weird voice things happening right now, but I mean, at some point, I'm sure we'll have some time, and yeah, we'll chat for a bit.
I'm Mombierella. I'm going to be doing my thing.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
I'm actually going to be doing the panel with you guys later, so
Okay,
I'll
cool.
see y'all later.
Right on. Well, that'll be fun. And,
So of course most y'all were here a minute ago. I'm Mombierella, by the way. I didn't introduce myself earlier. I realized I just got to introduce everybody who's awesome and step out of the way. So of course Chris Rager and Josh Martin, they're like the power couple. Is that a way? Can I phrase it that way?
we're America's favorite odd couple.
Anime's
favorite odd couple.
Yes.
No, but like y'all almost have like a tag team kind of thing about it.
It's the truth.
But
Yep.
Accurate,
right.
as the kids say.
Correct.
So, but you guys aren't just like your characters aren't just best friends. You know,
Right.
y'all are actually best friends. And y'all were before the show,
Yes.
right?
Correct.
So how did that line up? Like,
Well, I mean, like I said, I auditioned the part. Mr. Satan was on the docket that day, and so I think there were probably a few other characters, but I don't really remember who they were because I didn't book them. So I booked Mr. Satan. Josh came a little bit later. He described the story of Chris Sabat coming to our show. He was the director at the time. And saw Josh do the Pillsbury Homeboy, who was a gangster rapping Pillsbury Doughboy, and gave him the part as Majin Buu. So we didn't know then, though, that these guys were going to kind of end up together in the way that they did. So it was, fun to kind of discover those moments and talk them over and being like, hey, I think we're friends now, man. Like,
well, it started out trying to kill him, basically.
right. Well, I go to him, I'm like, hey, why do you kill people? He's like, I don't know why I kill people. Bobby told me to kill people. I'm like, well, you should stop. He's like, okay. I'm like, oh, well, that's easy. Just pose here for this picture if you're dead, and then we'll go all about our happy lives. And some guy had to come on and shoot the damn dog, screw everything up. I had to really establish some, I was saving the planet.
It's like a John Wick moment there.
Yeah,
Don't
yeah.
shoot the dog.
Right,
That's
no
like
doubt.
no.
Right.
I thought they shot Satan.
No,
You did.
Satan
When it happened.
Satan brought a gun out. That was one of the only times that guns were ever
I was
used
gonna
in
say,
Dragon Ball
was it
Z.
ever
They
ever?
shot B, and then Mr. Satan brandished a gun.
It's slow mode, actually.
Yeah. Oddly enough, though, the guy who shot B was a one-off character, and the characters actually had a name. His name was Van Zant. And that character was voiced by another guy in our comedy troupe named Mark Orbick. And his family is from Australia. And so that guy turned out to be Australian. Well, Australia. Yeah, shot that dog.
Get him.
Yeah.
But our friendship, Chris and
Yes,
my
before
friendship started in 1995 at an acting school in Dallas
Yeah.
called Katie's Studio.
I remember I actually met Josh briefly for one moment before I actually started that school at Aaron Gilstrap's party. Remember?
I do.
Aaron Gilstrap. That was.
I do. That was the beginning of our comedy troops.
You know, I ran into her not that long ago, dude, and I was like, "What the hell?" Like I
It
couldn't
happens.
believe it. Anyway,
Anyway.
she was one that came to me and was like, "You need to go to this acting school. You need to go."
Y'all went to Brookhaven together?
Yeah, we were Brookhaven
okay.
together, and she's like, "You need to go." And so she was the reason I actually ended up going to KV.
Amazing.
And then saw her years later. Well, I wished I had.
Well, yeah, so we were at acting school together, and then along the way, while I was at acting school, while we were at acting school, we of course wanted to act, and work.
It's a crazy thing between actors.
Not just to make money, but we needed the money. But the problem with getting acting work is we didn't have agents, and we couldn't get an agent because we had never worked before.
Sort of a catch-22 in a way.
See our issue. But to the party, we randomly all wound up kind of in the same circle, just being silly, telling jokes or, just whatever. And because we're in the acting community, it naturally moved to, well, if nobody will hire us, and we can't get an agent because we don't have any work. We all like comedy. We like SNL, Whose Line Is It Anyway, Kids in the Hall, Mad TV, Richard Pryor, Eddie Murphy, George Carlin, all Hedberg, all of them. So we all had kind of similar tastes in comedy.
They like to let the actors have some freedom with that. And honestly, they might be calling you specifically into audition because they like what you brought in the past, and they feel like you might bring something interesting or fun. A lot of the times these days, though, they don't have time for a lot of auditions, so a lot of the directors, it's kind of based on who you know and what you know about them, and so they just bring people in. So I get a lot of calls just to come in and play this thing that someone thought I could play, or it's in my wheelhouse of voices or voice types that I can do, and so that's how that really happens. But the audition process is really about you committing to the piece of work and finding elements outside of what's on that page to kind of bring into the page. Does that make sense? Like little bits of non-verbals, scoffs, smiles, little bits of, maybe some physicality. No. Josh is super nice, super sweet, always concerned for others. Like, I'm always like, doing something, talking, and like, oh, well, where'd Josh just go? Well, he's helping somebody, because they lost a shoe or something. Or, a girl had a fit, well, she passed out or something one time. I remember Josh was the first guy there. Wow. I'm all like, stay away, she's sick, man. She's got cooties or something. But Josh is that guy. He is not me in any way, shape, or form, and that's what I love about Josh is that Josh shows me what it is to be a better person, right? And then, then I try to do those things.
So what you're saying is he completes you?
Well, in a way, he lets me see that there's probably a better way to do this or a better way to approach it, and maybe I might try it sometime. I mean, I haven't, but I might.
and to that effect, I am nice, and I am considerate of other people and that sort of thing. But there are times when I don't need to be that. You know what I mean? When I need to be selfish for myself and/or for the better of my people around me or the situation or whatever, and I can put my regular hat on.
That's what yeah. Josh will call me. Hey, did you hear did you hear me going regular on this guy the other day? I'm like, no, please do don't.
So you pull out the regular persona from your.
Absolutely. I'll be like, okay, well, watch this.
And then sometimes I'm like, well, that's a little too far. I'm not sure I would have done that.
It is funny. I will do it. I'll be like, and then I did this. He's like, oh, wow. I don't think I would have done it. Oh yeah, well I did it. And I
Yeah,
told
no,
him,
I commend you for it. I'm all for it. I just don't know if I would.
I'm giving you credit for this. You should
Right.
accept
Yes.
that.
you would have been proud. Let's say it.
Yes.
So did improv come to y'all easily, or did it take like?
Yes.
It just
Natural.
It was something that when I first learned about improv and first started to study it, I was like, oh, I get it. I get this. Now, there are some things that about improv that I more gravitated than others. You know, like using improv as a writing tool, using improv. You know, we used to do a lot of sketches in our show that we wrote, but in reality, all we really did was discuss it, right? We're like, here are the characters, here's what happens, here's
Not
the beginning.
one pen to paper, not one.
Here's the beginning, here's the middle, here's what happens at the end. What you say in order to get there is whatever, just get there. Start at the beginning, make your way to the middle, and make your way to the end. Whatever you say, and then eventually we would do those enough times that the script would write itself, and then that became the script because we knew what laughs worked and what laughs didn't work. And what it afforded us to do was to sometime add something in there that we hadn't thought about, you know, that was new to the sketch, and you're, you know, surprising your fellow actors. Oh, that's different, you know. So, you know, we're always looking to, you know, keep each other. We wanted to make each other laugh, like I said, you know. So, you know, if I could make one of these guys break on stage, it was my favorite thing. You know,
Great.
like we just all of a sudden start uncontrollably laughing. Yes.
I was gonna say that's for like SNL. That's some of the best ones where
Oh, sure.
where somebody's breaking because
Yes.
they're just losing it.
No, we used to play this improv game, and it's a fairly basic improv game that's fairly universal amongst improvisers. It's called What Are You Returning? Right? And the premise behind this, we added our own little twist to it, but the premise behind it was that you're returning something to the store, but you don't know what it is, and you don't know what it's made of. Right? So you get those things from the audience, right? We added a third element that a famous person gave it to you as a gift. Right, so we get those three things from the
So we
audience.
could do an impression of a famous person.
Right, so it's just another element to add to the,
Yeah.
you know, the potential possibilities. And I often was the one, I would leave the room with an audience member, and I would come back in so I didn't hear what was going on. And I would be the guy entering and returning the item to the store. Well, there would be times that these guys collectively decided that they were going to give really terrible clues. And that they were going to milk this and make me suffer and sweat it up there, not really knowing what this is or what it's made of, and by far hell don't know who gave it to you. You know, I mean, so we had some of those improvs that literally lasted 20 minutes. We would go on, and that's it's a 5-minute game. You know, you go in, they drop some clues, you figure out what it is. Oh, cool. Then they drop some more clues. It's funny. Oh, it's made out of something really weird. It's not really made out of. Oh, and this crazy famous person gave it to you. Yeah. You know, that was, you know, fairly quick and simple and fun last game, but sometimes they would decide to make me sweat.
We took some liberties.
Yeah. And then when I started getting close, they'd be like, oh, no, now he's getting close, we have to pull it back. Right, change direction.
We would get the absolute wrong clue, not even close to what it is, and then at one point we'd be like, okay, give me the right one.
Right.
And
So
then
I
he
was
way off.
I would
By the time we
sit-
give him the right one, he think that was still wrong.
I was openly frustrated with the audience, and I was breaking fourth wall, like, you know, y'all come with me because these guys are screwing me over here.
It was really selfish on our part from a performance standpoint,
It was
but
fun.
you know,
Watching
Like we said.
watching me sweat was fun.
right? Like I said, you can't argue with funny, and the audience was loving it. So
That was one of our arguments all the time. If it's funny, who cares?
Anything for a laugh.
'cause you talk about it,
Seriously.
falling into improv or, you know, getting it when you first got in. I did, but we also took some improv classes, right, where they teach you the yes and circle at info and these other games and formats and rules and ideals behind it. And you can ask Chris and everybody else, I'm not like the best improviser. I don't add info and build the scene perfectly, you know what I mean? But I know how to do all of that, and I have the tools at my disposal to use as best as possible so that it's not so disjointed. In the beginning, I was just like, okay, I'm gonna go up here and I'm gonna be funny. That was funny, wasn't it?
I think probably what you bring most is character work, you know. So usually I'm gonna get some character I hadn't seen before out of Josh and be like, oh. Well,
that was my thing. If I'll just make a character choice, make a physical adjustment, and just commit. Like that was the best training for me. I'm already kind of wacky and like characters, but it was the training was for the audience to give a suggestion or the scene started, and the longer you wait to decide, okay, what should I be English? Should I this, that, or no, just go, and whatever happens,
well, sometimes you can commit to something awful and it's hilarious. It can be really funny because you committed, you sold it. You know, if you
commitment is
if you don't sell, if you give the audience any idea that you're not buying into the thing that you're doing, you're done.
And that's mostly what improv is. It was a tool. It is a tool when you're performing a play, right? You've got the whole script. You know your lines. For whatever reason, you're in the middle of the play and you go blank, right? What am I going to do? Well, you're not lying. We're not doing this. You stay here in the moment. Check in with your scene partner.
You improvise
And
something.
there's something you just go. You know what I mean? What am I feeling? Just go with it, and eventually, if you're in the moment, whether you got off that script, you will eventually come back to it, and then and then forsooth. Or whatever it is. Does that make sense?
Why were we doing Shakespeare?
Because that's the play we rehearsed.
There's only Shakespeare. There's
Like,
nothing else.
I am, my lord, as well derived as he, well possessed. All my fortunes in every way is fairly ranked, if not with vantages as Demetrius. Demetrius, I will avouch to his head, made love to Nether's daughter Helena, and won her soul, and she, sweet lady, devoutly dotes upon the spotted and unconstant man. That's my Shakespeare.
It's one of my favorites.
little theme from Midsummer's Night.
Midsummer's Night.
Do you keep Shakespeare in your back pocket?
No, I was in that play in college, and I never forgot that particular line.
Wow.
And it was me complaining to the king about another gentleman, and that he's trying to bed the woman I love, and I'm trying to let the king know, like, he's a piece of shit.
Yeah.
It didn't work well.
So how did you move from the improv to the voice acting?
We didn't move from it. It was just in addition to Mike McFarlane. I was talking about. He was already a bigger fan of the anime, and specifically DragonballZ.
He was kind of weird though.
Yeah.
So it made sense to us. Oh, he likes that anime stuff.
Yeah.
Weirdo.
Kind of. Yeah, pretty much. But in a loving way. And he came to the show one night and told us about he got this new part. He's doing for DragonballZ or whatever. Chris was like, "Wait, they gave you a part on the cartoon?" He's like, "Yeah." They'll give you a part, they'll give me a part.
I do want to point out that I was right.
Here we are.
That makes all the difference.
Right?
I knew the level of talent I was going up against. I could beat Mike.
Another thing that improv teaches you, confidence.
Nailed it.
So, then he went and got his part. He did it. He did the damn thing. Yeah. So they brought Sabat to our show, Chris Sabat, and he saw me do that Pillsbury Homeboy character. And then he gave me that part. If I don't know, you weren't at the panel earlier, were you?
No, sorry.
You weren't, yeah, no.
Oh, no.
I was doing a character for those who weren't here. Character
You can
called
do it again, it's
Pillsbury
okay.
Homeboy.
Go for it.
So it's a Pillsbury Doughboy turned gangster rapper.
He felt it.
I thought you were gonna go with me.
No, we called him the human lunchbox. Nobody? That voice? Anyway, yeah. So instead of nothing says loving like my crescent rolls. It was nothing says loving like the blunts I be puffing. So yeah, I did a whole what's my name? Snoop Dogg rap. What's my muffin bacon name?
Pillsbury.
So yeah, I did a whole rap and Sabbath saw that and he was like, I think about the voice of Majin Buu.
I remember one line, I can't remember which song it was, and it wasn't that one, but you were like, if I was a tree, what kind would I be? I wouldn't, I'm like a Pillsbury. It's one of my favorite lines.
Was it 2020 with Barbara Walters?
What about?
Anybody remember?
Yeah. Baba Wawa.
Right. That was her famous last question in an interview.
What kind of tree would you be?
Jennifer, if you were a tree,
What tree?
what kind of tree would you be?
Would you be?
Well, I'd be a tall oak, or I'd be whispering or whatever. And so what if mine was? I wouldn't have the
Trying to look around, see if there's any children here.
Sorry, kids. But that was to be honest, I always thought that was the funny thing that, growing up, you couldn't cuss, right? You can't say bad word. But if a little kid mispronounced something or said it, just repeating something, it's cute and funny, right?
Hilarious.
And so when we were in the comedy troupe and we were having our first rehearsals, we were going around and being like, all right, anybody do any celebrity impressions? I was like, what do I do? They were like, all right, who? I do Scooby-Doo. And they're like, so do I, so do I, so do I. Everybody did Scooby-Doo. So I was like, oh, well, that sucks. And then I said, oh, I do the Pillsbury Doughboy. They're like, really? I was like, yeah, and so I did it. And the whole room of comedians laughed like y'all, and I was like, ooh, I got him. Yeah.
So, y'all remember the movie New Jack City?
Yes.
It's an older movie. It's got Wesley Snipes and Chris Rock. Chris Rock plays a character named Pookie. Gets all cracked out and then cleans up, And then he starts working for Wesley Snipes, Well, we wrote a sketch kind of based on that. And that's what the original concept of that him being the Pillsbury Homeboy kind of centered around was this idea that the Pillsbury Homeboy had, become a crackhead. And things weren't good, it was him getting out of the gutters and, picking himself back up kind of thing.
Tupac had been in Poetic Justice, thank you. And so that was a new kind of thing for rappers to get into movies, right? So it's, you'll see the Pillsbury Doughboy. Nothing says loving, turn into crack smoking homeboy. I love crack. That was this movie trailer. Yeah.
Definitely had that cracked out moment.
It was it, yeah.
And then it became a much better idea. Josh started to write.
I shouldn't have even been in the bar. I was performing it.
Oh, wow.
Really, seriously. I moved here from Louisiana, and right after I moved, they changed.
Oh my gosh.
That's all right. This is my mood lighting. I request.
Da, 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 da.
Improv. But
Now we're talking.
We need some Kenny G.
all right.
How you doing?
Better now. Where was I? Yeah, I got this.
What was the scene you talked about? Your old... No.
Oh yeah. So before I moved, you could buy alcohol at 18. You weren't supposed to consume it until you were 21. Swear to God, real law at the time.
When I was there, you could drink it, but you couldn't buy it. Yeah, in Louisiana.
Yeah, you can buy booze anywhere there too.
Well, you could go to the store and get a 6-pack for your mom, just couldn't drink it.
Right, well, I mean.
I could go to Club Isabella in downtown Shreveport, get in at 18, 19, 20. Get a Amaranth Sour from the bar, and as soon as I got it, it was my responsibility not to drink.
Get out.
Promise. They've
Well, I
since
wouldn't-
changed
I
it
wouldn't-
back
I
to
wouldn't-
21,
I
right?
would drink that amaretto sour. It tastes like shit.
When you're 18.
Yeah.
When you're 18, you're...
I mean, can I have a rum and
I
coke?
mean, you want to talk about teenager alcohol?
Louisiana, need I say more?
They give us
So anyway, yeah,
Might
when I
have
came
a
to,
Dory sour, you know.
but when I came to Dallas and then I'm in the bar performing, I didn't think twice. I just asked for a beer, and they gave it to me. Yeah, I stayed performing in bars so I could drink. Next question.
Josh was always a little younger. I didn't have to. I was fine.
Yeah, you were already know.
Did you have like the big brother syndrome happening there?
Not really. Well, actually, for a little while I did. I think the dynamic somewhat changed over time, but there probably was a time where I felt like, you know, I was heading up the relationship as our friendship as goes, you know. But I was more.
I grew up in
You know, Josh grew up in this small town. I grew up in a big city. I grew up in Dallas, you know. So Josh at one point had given up and gone back to Louisiana. And I was like, oh, hell no. So I drove down to Louisiana. And I got his ass and was like, no, you're coming back.
Damn.
So, thank God that I did. Because, you know, we actually started to enjoy some success after that. You know. But
Was that before or after Dragon Ball?
that was before.
It was before Barney.
Yeah.
Imagine
But
not
this
having
was
that.
before we graduated acting school.
Yeah.
We hadn't even graduated acting school yet, so.
So you gave up early. You can't do that.
Right? Yeah, I was like,
Well,
no,
when
no.
speaking of coming from Louisiana and you know doing all that, I was all by myself in Dallas for the first time, and so I was making all of my own decisions, for better or worse. And some of them were not waking up and going to school when I needed to, right? And so eventually, while I was sleeping one day, the director of education called me. And I answered, and he said, what are you doing? And I said, I'm sleeping. He goes, yeah. Well, when you got time, come see me. So I went and saw him, and a guy named Chuck Gale, we're great friends still to this day. But he was not so much of a teacher, more kind of like a colleague that just was teaching this class, right? How I felt about it. And I went in, he goes, Ed, you missed too much class. There's nothing I can do. I mean, if I could, I would if I could. I can't do it. He goes, so we got 3 choices. You can either quit, I can kick you out, or we can agree that you're going to take a break. And if we agree on that, then I can leave it open for you to come back when you're ready. And I was like, all right. And my parents had recently divorced. So, yeah.
My parents divorced when I was 7, so whatever. We've been there.
Right. So, you know, after a while of waiting tables, trying to make money, trying to pay my bills, I was like, oh, well, if I'm going to do this in Texas, then I might as well go back to school, because I'm either going to go back to school or move back to Louisiana and just do this, right? Where stay with my parents and not have to worry about rent and all that other stuff, at least at the beginning. But yeah, I decided to get back together and go back to school, and that's where I met him.
So we ended up, or there's 4 semesters at that acting school. So basically Josh had to drop out of the second and retake it. And so when I started my second is when we were joined the same class. So Josh restarting his second for the first time. We ended up in the same class.
Destiny.
Density. I mean,
Hey, Biff, take your damn hands
No.
off her.
no.
Yeah.
That is one of my favorites.
So how many ended up in your core group once you said like a couple people left your improv group?
6 or 7.
It was like
Some people kind of came in. Even Josh came in and out because he had booked Barney and was gone for a while, or then back for a while, and gone again for a while. A few people kind of came in and left. Chad Klein was one of them. Dave Little, a few other. But the core group of guys was myself, Mike McFarlane, Josh, and Mark Orbick. And he was the one that played Van Zandt I was talking about earlier. And that was it. That was the 4 of us, actually. The 4 of us were that core, and then a few other guys kind of hung around and went different directions and stuff like that.
How long did that group last?
As Section 8, probably about 13, 14 years.
Oh, wow.
What now?
9. We were almost to 10.
Oh, really?
We celebrated 10.
Excuse me, Majin Buu. Would you like your back scrubbed?
Huh? Yes, come play. Get a tub.
Who, me? Gosh, that's awfully nice of you. Are you sure, Boo?
Boo, sure. Come play.
Thank you. I could use a bath. I'm smelling a little too manly, if you know what I mean. Forgive me, please.
Come closer.
Closer? Okay, Boo.
Gotcha. Play, play.
Thank you so much for joining us for this panel with Chris Rager and Josh Martin. I really appreciate them, and Kimo Kawaii for having me out. It was awesome. If you haven't had a chance to yet, please like, subscribe, ring that notification bell, comment down below, share with a friend, and remember, let it go and keep moving forward. Have a magical day. Bye.